We are seeing mixed markets today ahead of tomorrow's CPI print. We're going to dive into that. We're going to look at the latest in the crypto markets. We're going to discuss crazy high mortgage rates, the latest from Microsoft and Activision. So much to go into today. Before we get going, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. Nothing Kevin or I say is financial advice. We're not financial advisors. We're a few guys who love following the markets, trying to put some pieces in place on how we're going to place our bets. So please do your own research before making any buys or sells. Kev, there isn't a ton of data out today. That's tomorrow. We're going to look ahead to it, but we are seeing crypto, kind of trading sideways. Same can be said for equities. They're a little bit in the green. The Dow is leading the way today. NASDAQ and S&P slightly green as well. What has been catching your eye, as we make our way to the end of the trading day on Tuesday?
Yeah, I mean, I think the past 2 days I've been really focused on crypto. There's a lot of stuff that's been happening. I think a lot of things are at, key support, or right now, some of them are even at resistance, but that support that they were once at was not too far off. So it seems like the market is gearing up going into tomorrow. Whether that's going to be bullish or bearish news, honestly, who really fucking cares? CPI is going to get revised anyways, and we're going to realize that everyone's been lying to us for the past 12 years. That aside, it seems like the crypto market for the most part is waiting for a move. And I think that a lot of people are extremely bullish or optimistic that this move is going to be, positive off the CPI data. But for the most part, I think that what we're seeing is maybe distribution, and that Bitcoin might be the giveaway on that. So we'll look into the charts in a little bit, but I've been focused on crypto for the past 2 days mainly.
Okay. See, this works out well because I've been focused more on TradFi so far this week, especially after selling those NVIDIA shares yesterday, trying to really figure out how I'm going to redeploy, what percentage of that capital I'm going to redeploy. I've decided I'm going to put about 35%, about a third of it, right around a third of it back into like a 5 or a 6 month treasury ahead of, having to pay capital gains taxes next year. Wanting to try to make a little bit more cash there, seeing if I can get some tax loss harvesting in. I'm going to keep about 20% in cash, and then I'm going to reinvest the remainder of it. So trying to figure out where I want to go with that remainder of it is my challenge at the moment. Some of that cash may go into crypto. I may, we may get some levels where I want to start DCAing again, but that's kind of been the focus. So a few headlines that we should discuss for sure is going to be number one, Microsoft. So there's been this huge acquisition, Microsoft trying to acquire Activision for $69 billion. That's a very nice amount of money. For the longest time, they've been facing a lot of pushback from in both the US and the UK. So the UK Competition and Markets Authority, they had vetoed the deal back in May. Then we find out yesterday, a judge here in the States who's overseeing the FTC bid to block the deal, has given the go-ahead for it to move forward. At which point, the UK Competition and Markets Authority has said that they're willing to see proposals from Microsoft to let this deal happen. So it hasn't gone through yet. It's still probably a ways off. However, I do think it's interesting, and I think, doing an episode or doing a segment at least where we talk about gaming and some possible investments there could be very worthwhile because, we're seeing the rise. Whether you like it or love it, or like it or hate it, we're seeing the rise of esports. Gaming has become so popular, and it's a huge industry now that there's absolutely money to be made there. The question becomes, how much is the tightening of people's budgets, lack of disposable income, student loans, does that impact the gaming market, and does that present us an opportunity? So something I want to look at in the future. Another big piece of news from yesterday, we saw a new decade high for 30-year mortgage rates. As of today, it's up to 7.39%. That is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I feel for anyone who is trying to buy a home or is having to upgrade now, which is a position my wife and I will be in a few years. I'm hoping the rates have come down by then a bit. But if we expect multiple rate hikes for the remainder of this year, which the Fed has been telling us, even though the markets aren't fully pricing it in yet, let's say we get 2 more rate hikes this year. It's a very high possibility that we're going to see mortgage rates go to 8%. Which is nuts. And I was looking historically, some of the data I found from, I believe, Fannie Mae, looking back at their, the rate hikes the rates that we've seen from them, or Freddie Mac. This is So far, over the last year, we have seen actually last, what am I looking at? From July of last year. So yes, in the last 2 years, this is the fastest rate increase in rates we've ever seen based on their historical data. It's
Wow.
over 100, 120 plus percent increase in a 30-year fixed mortgage in 2 years. If we look back, like from a historical standpoint, if we go back to the 70s, even then, when it was a total shitstorm, it didn't go up on a percentage basis that high that fast. Total rate wise, I went to 18.5%. We're not going to see that, I hope. But it's rough out there. And then the question becomes, where do we stand to benefit from this? Like it's really tough if you're if you're a lender, you stand to benefit. But if you're a home buyer, what do you do at this point? Do you just sit and wait? Do you go into renovations? That's been a very popular discussion point. So we've mentioned Home Depot and Lowe's in the past. I think those are definitely two options if you're looking to deploy some money. The thing with those as well is that they're pretty nice dividend stocks. So Home Depot is going to be paying a Q2 dividend of 209 a share. Lowe's a Q2 dividend of $1.10 a share. I think that's not a bad place if you're trying to be defensive at this point and you don't want to just sit in bonds. I don't think it's a bad idea to look at Home Depot or Lowe's. Maybe see if they're overbought right now, if we think they might come down a little bit. But at the same time, if we're not trying to time the market, I think those are a couple defensive plays that are going to pay dividends literally over the next couple of years and have the ability to see an increase on their balance sheets in their earnings compared to a lot of tech companies, which I think are going to see earnings misses in the years, in the months and years ahead. So that's one thing I've been thinking about from that standpoint. I also want to touch on the impact of this on inflation and how this is something that no one is talking about. If you want me to jump into that, you want me to keep going with that?
You're
I don't
doing,
want to.
dude.
Okay,
I'm having a great time learning so much.
Let's roll. So we have the CPI print coming out tomorrow. Expectation is going to be 0.3% month over month and 0.3% month over month for core. If it comes in headline at 0.3, that's actually be higher than last month. So that's not good. Year over year, what people are getting excited about is the CPI headline number is expected to be 3.1, which would be down from 4. So here's some risk there. Number one, that's a huge drop. And if it comes in higher than that, the markets are not going to respond favorably. Number two, we all know, we should know at this point, if you listen to our show regularly, which I hope you do, Ace, Randy, GM, good to see you, that the Fed cares way more about the core number. The headline number, that's for the talking heads. That's for people on social media who don't really pay attention to what's going on. The core number is what the Fed looks at. The expectation there is still 5% year over year. That's not great, okay? And when we talk about the core number, we're saying when they strip out food and energy. What makes up the biggest increase in that lately has been shelter. What has a possibility of continuing to go up in cost if mortgages are high and people aren't buying? Shelter. Landlords are going to have the green light. If people aren't buying new homes because we push toward 8% mortgages, landlords are going to have the green light to increase rent. That means that we're going to see that core CPI number taking another leg back up. And what I really want to see tomorrow in the numbers, I don't care about the headline number. That to me is nothing. There will be people victory lapping it if it comes in at 3%. I think those people are misguided and don't know what they're talking about. What I'm going to be looking at is going to be the shelter number. So I have it pulled up in front of me. Since November of 2022, we are at the exact same month over month number. May was 0.6% month over month. November 2022 was 0.6%. We saw it go down to 0.4 in April before it bounced back up. It's year over year, that shelter number is 8%. That's pretty goddamn high. So if we see tomorrow that the month over month number for shelter is back to like 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, that is telling me that this is far from over. This inflation battle that the Fed thinks that they're winning is far from over, because the biggest move in core CPI last month was due to shelter. That's why it went up. Like that's why it was still as high as it is. So I think to get overly excited about the headline number potentially being 3.1%, if core is still at 5, or God forbid it comes in like near the previous number of like 5.3, that's not good. The Fed still has to hike. We're going to see this mortgage, this 30-year fixed rate mortgage stay, in the high 7s or get up to 8. It is really, really nasty. More like a greater percentage of people's income is going to go towards shelter. It's just, I'm seeing so many people capitulate to being bulls right now. And trust me, I want to see numbers go up. I want to be in a better economic situation, but we can't just make it happen out of thin air. So I think it's like, take the headline numbers and just throw that away and look at the underlying data of what actually matters. To me, this is a number that actually matters.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. We were talking before the show. I haven't been keeping an eye on shelter too much, but this is a pretty easy open and shut case for why inflation could increase, right? It makes sense. We take the headline numbers as much as we want, and maybe the headline numbers are just trying to trap us, right? Maybe that's me being conspiratorial, but for the most part, it's like if we know that the data is shit and it's getting worse, and this data is supporting a reason why the Fed needs to continue to raise rates, then why are we buying into a market? Is it because the headline number looks good and we can trap as many people as we possibly can before taking them all down with us? Probably. But yeah, this is absolute terrible if this comes in, hotter than expected. I'm still surprised that 3% is the actual like intended target for the headline number. Like that is such a big drop. That is insane. That's I don't think they come at 3% unless they do what they do best and lie. But I definitely think that it's just going to be. I think it should be disappointing. I think for some people, whether it comes in at 3% or not. I think the core, like you said, is going to be most important. Shelter is like all eyes are on that because that might be a huge reason why we've seen inflation rise in the U.S. And then there's multiple other factors that are going on globally that we could potentially see, a spike in inflation. But for housing, I think that's going to be a key data metric for tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't really know what the upside, like it feels like the upside is capped. It feels like the upside has already priced in a
Is it?
3.1%. Huh?
Is it?
Like the
I
up
don't know, man. It's
like
been going up forever.
it has been going up forever. Like at least for tomorrow. I feel like tomorrow's upside is so like it's just all about the CPI number. And it's all about this this headline and the core number. And I really it appears that House bought the coin. Hey, good job. Or do we keep clicking on at the same
Yeah,
time?
go
Is
ahead.
that,
Go
is
do
that
it.
what's
Go.
happening over here? Okay. Here's I bought the recent coin bought on the June lawsuit news.
Hell yeah.
Well done, House. Very, very sharp move right there. We People overreact. Like as smart as you think this market can be at times, people always overreact. So well done there, Mr. House. Kev, I think that it was a good amount of time to spend on the TradFi side of things. I know we wanted to touch, spend a solid amount of today's show on crypto because we didn't really bring it up at all yesterday. And I know that you're seeing a lot between liquidations, Bitcoin dominance. So let's dive into that. Let's take a look at what is going on in crypto because we're once again like in this trading in this range with Bitcoin where it's stuck in this 30,500 range. And every time it tries to break past 31, it's just not getting there. I know that you said in the short term with this potential head and shoulders pattern, a move to 35 is possible. Are you still seeing that? What do you want to look at there to kind of move the show forward?
For sure. I think the first thing we need to do is look at the DXY. We haven't looked at that in a while, and this is definitely playing in part to why we're seeing some of the crypto price appreciation that we're seeing. The dollar has been absolutely dropping right in the past few days. This was expected. This is something that we've been talking about for the past 2-3 weeks. It was necessary. It just came up too fast, too soon, and it wasn't enough momentum to break above that 105, which tells me that we had to go test support one more time. I still believe that 100.845 is going to be our triple bottom. I think we're going to wick down to it. Hopefully, the weekly stochastic RSI does correct on Friday to the point where we're almost into the oversold, and 3 times is the charm. Hopefully we find some support there, and then that's a rocket ship for us to go up. And that would also be in line with our daily, right? I think the daily is completely oversold by the end of today. It doesn't mean that it can't stay oversold for a few days. We can get a wick down here. it's very possible tomorrow is going to be really volatile for the dollar. Whatever the numbers come out, it seems like the dollar is just eats shit on these CPI days, especially recently with all the headline numbers. It makes it look like inflation is actually coming down. Maybe it's not. Who knows? Tomorrow we're going to see how the dollar reacts to that. I would be surprised if we wick down real quick to 108.845, this white line right down here, and then maybe we consolidate around it or trade above it for a little bit, and that pretty much takes us to oversold and oversold on the daily and the weekly. So that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. But I do think that there is price appreciation for the dollar to the upside. Been saying it for months. I think that monthly is absolutely prime for this thing to go up. We just might have to do one more little bit of a correction before we start to see some of that come up. And so that's what I'm seeing with the dollar. We need to keep that in mind, because if the dollar goes down, risk assets go up. And currently we're seeing some weird stuff going on with Bitcoin and a bunch of other altcoins. Bitcoin, for one, has been absolutely boring, if you ask me. That's just my opinion. Doesn't mean that it's actually boring on the charts. There's a lot of shit going on, obviously. But let's look at it deep. This right here in this area is where we've been trading in for the past, week or so, since that push up on June 21st all the way to where we are now, right? We can see that we were overbought and we came to the oversold very quickly on the daily. So that for me is a bullish indicator. That means that the move to the downside isn't as strong as the potential move to the upside. And, I've been tracking this parallel channel. I think that, this is kind of a weird structure that's forming within here, but, we're still putting in, channel where we're trading. I don't necessarily know if this is going to be a bullish break, but for the most part right now, as I'm looking at it, we got some resistance here, we got some support here, and we're just trading within it sideways a little bit right now, and the volumes are all over the place on the daily. So I think that we do expect, like just based off this chart here, this pattern, with the stochastic RSI, there is room for us to break above this. We've been trying to break above it, but 31K has been an absolute sell zone, right? Every time it gets there, it's been absolutely just slapped down. And that's no surprise. We're in a supply zone right now. This is where price pushed back up from 24, 25K, pushed right back up into here, pretty much just so that people could sell higher. Is that the actual reason why it did? Probably. I think a lot of people were, shorting the bottom here at 24, 25. A clean break of 25 to me would have been bearish as could be, and that would have been probably since the 22, 23K. But that was invalidated when we got this massive push to the upside. It's a bit of a short squeeze. Again, we built tons of gaps here that will need to be filled at some point. I think that, the structure is still pretty clear that, there is room for a little bit more, especially if we look on this weekly. Like the weekly is not completely overbought yet, right? And with the daily being oversold, oops, I just moved that. That sucked. What did I do here? Oh no, I'm fucking everything up now.
Oh
Damn
my God. You're on a
Man.
roll too.
I know, I was kicking ass. All right, here we are. But we can see that the weekly stochastic RSI still has a little bit of room to the upside, right? And that can stay overbought for a period of time. I think that this move to 34, 35K to fill that gap on the CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange Bitcoin futures chart, it's still very possible, man. All we got to do is really push up 14%. And that does sound like a lot. However, if we start to see, a lot of shorts pile in, maybe that's a reason for them to squeeze everyone out of their positions. But I think that for this right now, we're just kind of just trading sideways, and we have to wait for Bitcoin to break to the upside or the downside. It's really weird because a lot of people that I trust are saying, it's going to 35K. And then I got some people that are saying it's going to 27K, and both are bearish. And I think that we're all expected to go a lot lower. But I think in this game right now, they're just absolutely liquidating everyone. That's why we saw some major liquidations on altcoins at the beginning of the week. But for Bitcoin right here, I think that we have to see this push up a little bit more to that 35K. But this tells me right here that the fact that it's consolidating this 31 and keeps getting rejected, a lot of people are selling. That tells me a lot of people are just offloading whatever Bitcoin that they couldn't offload at 24K, and they're offloading it here. And that's why you can't sustain anything above 31K. That's pretty much what I'm saying. I do want to look at Bitcoin dominance real quick too, because this is another one that's, really interesting. We can see how overbought we've been on Bitcoin dominance since, December of 2022. It's insane, right? It's just been climbing nonstop. And at some point it's got to give. And that's, my biggest fear. Because when this does give, likely everything's going to come down crashing with it. And since we are in a bear market, I think everything is still subject to whatever Bitcoin does, whether dominance is high or low. So if dominance is high, alts are going to bleed. If dominance is low, likely it's because Bitcoin is dropping.
Yeah, when it does go, do you think it's going to be people moving into like stable coins and just like kind of waiting until it bottoms out? Like what?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think a lot of the, Bitcoin dominance will definitely still stay relatively high because I think people have more faith in Bitcoin as opposed to a lot of other altcoins. But USDT, I think, is that dominance might reach 10%, 9 to 10%. And that pretty much tells me that, everyone's pretty much selling off. And again, if alts are selling off with Bitcoin, then Bitcoin's dominance is just going to stay relatively high. Altcoins will absolutely be eating shit. And the other thing that we have to keep in mind is Ethereum. So before I get into Ethereum, we're just looking at Bitcoin dominance here. We're on the weekly. We're at the 200 moving average EMA, 200 EMA, and we're kind of finding some resistance on it right now. Looks like we broke above it, so maybe this is like the range where if we do find some support on it, we could see Bitcoin begin climbing. I think where we've been consolidating for a few days, it hasn't been long. Obviously, we've had longer periods of consolidation. We can look at March all the way till May. Pretty good consolidation period. Consolidation period here from January all the way to March. And then we get these, massive green candles up, and that usually comes in line with Bitcoin's price pushing up. But if we look on the daily, we can see that we're oversold on the daily, even though I don't necessarily take this as a grain of salt. I'd be looking more at Bitcoin's chart, but we're back above this line right here, this 51.37. This was my resistance line. I thought maybe we hit that, we find some rejection. We went above it, we broke above it, we broke below it, and now we're back above it. So this is starting to tell me right now that this is support. I do think that if we can maintain above 51.37, and right now we're at 51.61%, I think that there is another move to the upside. Maybe we consolidate this for a few days, but I do think that we are going to continue to push up on Bitcoin dominance. I haven't given up on this. And again, if we start to hit that 35K mark, that tells me that that's probably the end of the move because there's no liquidity above that. All the liquidity is to the downside, whether it's at 20K, 15K, 9,000. Like there's a bunch of gaps that need to be filled. And I think that a lot of people who are probably going to be longing at 35K, expecting us to be in a bullish structure, are going to start eating a little bit of shit on some of those shorts they're going to be piling in. So that's what I would see. Hold on one second.
Kevin is, in fact, the Rick Astley of Bitcoin dominance. He's never going to give you up. He's never going to let you down.
No, please don't let us down, BTCD. I really, honestly, my shorts are depending on it. No, but yeah, so that's what I'm seeing with Bitcoin dominance and Bitcoin. The thing I want to keep an eye on is Ethereum because that could absolutely, play huge into what's going on here. Ethereum is kind of shitty. I will say that I've never been a fan of Ethereum, but I think a lot of people are starting to offload Ethereum. Again, the price has been pushing up, but again, where are we right now? We're at 1873. Recently, we've been hitting our head and ass on this parallel channel. Technically we're oversold on the daily. On the weekly, we're oversold, I think, as well, or coming out of the oversold. And if we look in the monthly, we're getting close to the overbought, right? This is on the stochastic RSI. We need to keep that in mind because what we've been doing for the past few months, similar to Meta, just going up pretty much the entire time, we're putting in this parallel channel. And this tells me that this is part of a huge corrective move, very similar, where we got a wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, ABC correction, and that C could take us down pretty deep. And I think that if this absolutely drops, maybe we start to see 1,500 Ethereum, like $1,500 for Ethereum or something like that in the next couple months, the market cap of crypto is absolutely going to tank and Bitcoin dominance is going to absolutely skyrocket. If people are starting to lose faith in Ethereum, that's not necessarily a great thing for other altcoins, right? I mean, it's great for Bitcoin, but those trading pairs are going to absolutely just be eating shit. So when I see Ethereum right now, this is one that I'm keeping an eye on because volumes are extremely low. Look how low these volumes are down here on the monthly. Like the price is pushing up, but the volumes are extremely low. It doesn't tell me that this is going to be sustainable. And we did push up.
Is that what we call
strong.
bearish divergence?
It is what we call bearish divergence.
See, I'm paying attention. I'm learning from this show. Fucking love it. Let's go.
Sweet. Now I can retire early. You can do all this by yourself. No,
that's not going to happen.
But yeah, so there's something we need to keep an eye on. And again, I want to look at the weekly because if this does break from this parallel channel, I'm really not giving too much of a fuck about the stochastic RSI when I look at the weekly. This is a parallel channel that is going to break at some point, just like the one in Matic did break. That 50 moving average and that 200 EMA are so close to each other that you could see a death cross, and that might just be absolutely catastrophic. Like you might see 5 waves straight down, not straight down, but 5 waves down in that C leg to the point where we're at, I've been saying $600 for Ethereum is a pretty, that's my target. 636, I think is the exact number that I came up to. But, I'm not giving up on that. I'll be Rick Astley all day when it comes to Ethereum going down. But this is not a great structure, and that would absolutely help Bitcoin dominance increase. And then Bitcoin, obviously would have the largest market cap of all coins. would destroy trading pairs. I just want to go through a few alts, things that I'm seeing in the charts as well that are kind of weird. Let's look at Cardano. So for the past few days, Cardano has been trading around 28, 29 cents. And I got to go really low into this, but this is on the weekly. Let's go to the daily. We can see that we've been trading this parallel channel, right? I thought we were going to break right here. I thought on Friday we were going to break. However, the weekend kind of pushed it up. Going sideways. Oh, my voice cracked there. You can tell I'm 15. Voice.
Do you need you want me to vamp for a minute so you can get a drink of water? You've been talking for 10 minutes straight. I can handle this for a second if you need to.
Nah, I'm good. Let's get this parallel. People got to know what's going on, Jared. This is bullshit that's going on in this market. But anyways,
parallel channel in a parallel channel.
You got it. Look at this on the daily, and we got this.
Wow,
I
put this shit right there.
This little line here, this orange dotted line, that pretty much means death. And I say death, I mean that's pretty much resistance. And we've wicked off of it once, twice, thrice times, 4. We keep whacking our head on this, and I think this is where we're starting to see exhaustion of the move. And we're up pretty good because we did come down. What was this? June 10th. It was Saturday. That was that Friday show that we talked about. I think the title was The Big Come Down. We went all the way down to 21 cents. And since then, we put in a pretty good recovery, right? So 21 cents to where we currently are. That is about a 33% move to the upside. So if you're a bull, you can't be upset with that return. The market is going to drop at some point, right? You can't just have things go up in straight lines forever. And if you do, you're probably in TradFi. So if I'm looking at this, I'm looking at some type of ABC or some weird correction where it could be something like this, maybe even here. Maybe this is the beginning of a 5-way move to the downside. I don't know. I have to I just don't necessarily like how this structure is playing, but we got a lot of things that are coming in line here. We got the 50 moving average on the daily. We got this, line of resistance that I've been seeing. We keep wicking. We got this bottom of this parallel channel that we were so close to breaking, and we got the stochastic RSI that it's almost overbought once again. Probably at the end of the day today, this is probably going to be overbought. And what does that tell me? It tells me that their momentum's to the downside, and with this parallel channel within a parallel channel, it's probably going to be coming down, right? What targets could we be seeing? I honestly think that we're be somewhere between 21 cent where we bottomed to and 18 cent. So I think that there is a pretty good move for Cardano coming. It's just one of the many things I'm seeing. I mean, we could look at the same thing with Matic too. Matic's doing the same exact parallel channel pattern, right? Came down to 51 cents. You got overbought in stochastic RSI. Every time it gets to 75 cents, it keeps getting rejected. I put the 74 cent line there because it was 74 and 76 that was acting as support back when we were above this, but we're not above it now. We're below it. So that tells me that, this is going to be a place of rejection, especially with that daily being completely overbought. I don't like the structure that's forming here. We got a parallel channel there, parallel channel there. We broke out of it into the upside, which is really weird. I think that we're just kind of we're in this position where we're selling higher. We pushed the market up just enough so we could sell higher to the point where we can get the most of our, supply out of our hands into the hands of other people who are willing to buy. And then we're just going to absolutely just be all right, man, we're short for the rest of this market. Now, could this absolutely shoot up? Maybe, right? I don't necessarily think that it's impossible. We can look at the weekly stochastic RSI. There's room to the upside, right? This will probably, if this doesn't break before the end of the week, there's a good chance that we'll start to come into the going towards the overbought. But again, look at the volumes. This is on the weekly. Bearish divergence. Volumes are coming down. Price is going up. That's not a good sign. It's also in a parallel channel. And the weekly can stay oversold for a period of time. So I'm not necessarily bullish on this, but it's another pattern in all coins I'm seeing. We got to go to the big boy, right? Binance. Binance is the one that's doing something very similar too. We're in a parallel channel that broke from a parallel channel. And on the weekly, we can see that the volumes are coming down as the price is pushing up. And I want to look at this. This is the one thing that really pisses me off about this market sometimes. And this is why I've been unable to sleep for the past few nights, because I saw this and no one's fucking talking about it. And it's driving me insane. This is on the 1-minute chart, right? How the fuck did $1 billion come into Binance on the 1-minute chart, shoot this up 4%? I'm sorry. This makes no sense. This makes no sense in any world unless it's absolutely manipulated. Who the hell wants to buy BNB? Sure, if there's a squeeze, maybe some of this structure makes sense for a squeeze, right? Pushing up. But this 100% is, no one's questioning this at all. And this created such a massive gap between 240 and right here at 233. I don't buy this one fucking bit. And I think that this will be filled at some point. But again, we were seeing it last week before it dropped down to 231. Let's pull it up on the daily. You see kind of kind of the weird shit that's been going on with Binance here. Obviously we heard that people were going to be leaving the company. Heads of the company are going to be leaving. They don't have any trust in how CZ responds to a lot of the SEC stuff. But we were down here. We're at the bottom of this channel. We're at 227, 228, and we pushed up to about 254. In my opinion, this was 100% people trying to sell a lot higher because they anticipate what's happening. Again, we got the 50 moving average here. We got overbought on stochastic RSI almost on the daily, and we're in a parallel channel. And there's a good chance that we could break one more time to the downside. And this 210 level right here, that is pretty much your last bet for support. That's the last resort support. If that goes under there, death is below there. Like I think I even put that on here. Yep. Death below here. That's 100% what it is. Because I don't necessarily see a lot of support below that. And I think that reason we're pushing this price up as much as we possibly can is because we're afraid that, we are going to see a dump. Hold on, I just see this article. What does this say right here? BNB whale moves 35 million to Binance ahead of Arkham sale. Giant to positive 141,000 to Binance 3 hours ago through 4 Binance deposit addresses. I don't know, it's something stupid. People are, again, that's another whale that's probably just trying to offload before the price does break down. There's a lot of stuff that's going on right now. I think we need to be careful and cognizant of, a lot of these things. Sure, the market looks like it's going up, but is it really going up? And the last one we'll check, just because this will be really important going into if any of these break, is the total market cap, excluding Ethereum and Bitcoin, total 3. I don't like how this is forming. There's just too much shit going on in this area. We got the daily, you got the 50 moving average, you got the 200 here. We're putting in a parallel channel. Even if we look at this on the weekly, that's a pretty sharp push up. Volumes are coming down here, and we were right here on the edge of this this bottom of this parallel channel. So what I'm seeing, I know we're at $330 billion right now. My target, honestly, is below $300 billion. I think this is going to break, and when it does, we're going to be 299 or less in terms of market cap for the entirety of crypto, except for Bitcoin and Ethereum. And if we wanted to look at, the same one with Ethereum included, we've already broken out of that. Again, that's based on time, but from what I'm seeing, unless we start forming another pattern where it's long and drawn out, we've already broken from this, but we haven't fallen. So it'll be really interesting to see how this week closes for this one. But we're finding some rejection right there on the 200 EMA, and if we're finding rejection on the 200 EMA when the price goes down, the 50 is going to follow. 200 is going to be a little bit lagging behind it. That 50 is going to cross to the 200, and we could see an absolute devastation for the entire crypto market. I will say this: that's pretty much everything that I had to cover for what's going on in the markets right now. But be careful, because there are tons of squeezes. I'll show you one squeeze that I got hurt on. We talked about it yesterday. This is absolutely insane. This wave squeeze. Fuck that. This is one on the weekly open. It shot up literally. It shot up all the way from
what the shit?
Yeah, from the open to, and then it went straight back down. And so I had a liquidation level a lot higher, but it definitely went through it. But I closed my position beforehand. But I mean, this is insane how much it shot up. This percentage is, let's see, it shot up 31.52% within an hour, and it came right back down. So that's an absolute liquidation event. This has been happening across all of crypto right now, so you have to be careful. This is a liquid market. There's not a lot of money. You might have 330 billion in the total alts, but if we even look at Binance, BNB, that coin only has about $35 billion worth of liquidity in it. So the pot of money that's inside a lot of these assets is draining fast. And Bitcoin continues to push up. I think that a lot of it is manipulation. You have to be careful, because there is definitely going to be some liquidation events. And I think that pushing up to 35K is going to absolutely destroy people who shorted too early, and you're going to see people who are longing too late, and it's going to just absolutely take everyone with it. So definitely be careful. If you are using leverage, low leverage is my advice. Again, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but personally, it's not worth getting liquidated for any of this shit. But definitely, if we were in a rational market and there wasn't liquidation hunters out there like Ace definitely recognizes, my man, you would definitely be in a place where you got to be careful. And just, sometimes it sucks being in a market and having exposure when there's liquidity hunters out there. But, you just got to be careful and protect yourself, protect your wealth at all costs. If you have conviction in something, make sure it's a sure thing that you're not going to end up, regretting. Don't overexpose yourself to a market that's absolutely illiquid.
Please, God, do not overexpose yourself, because this is such a volatile market right now.
It's dangerous.
It's manipulated like crazy. Be Be smart. That's all we can really say, right? Kevin and I are very different in the way that we handle the markets. I think we both try to play to our strengths and avoid our weaknesses. Like my weakness is day trading. That's why I just don't do it. So I try to just make a few big bets a year, and that's how I assess things. But that is going to wrap it up for today. Great episode, if I do say so myself. We laughed, we cried, we covered real estate, we covered the gaming industry, we covered inflation, we
I hit
covered
puberty.
crypto. Kevin hit puberty. I mean, amazing show. There's a Rick Astley reference. Incredible stuff today. So if you enjoyed it, do us a favor. Hit those buttons down below. A like, a comment, share us out on social media, subscribe if you have not yet. Really appreciate all of those very much. Randy, Ace, Mr. House, you guys are the best. Day in, day out, you guys show up. So you have no idea how much that means to us. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, knuckleheads. We're going to do it all again. We're going to see some CPI numbers. We're going to see the shenanigans that come with that. I'm hoping for a volatile morning in the market. It's been boring lately on these CPI days, but hey, it's got to break at some point. So thanks again, everyone, for watching. Have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Take care, everyone.